If you love the sweet, comforting note of vanilla in your fragrances, this is a video for you because I'm going to go through 20 different vanilla fragrances. I've put them into categories, but they're all vanilla fragrances. So if you love vanilla, then stick around. And at the end, I'm going to go through my top 3. So make sure you stay tuned and find the next vanilla that you're going to add to your fragrance collection. Before I get into the fragrances, I just wanted to say hi. If you're new here, my name is Danielle, and on this channel I talk about fragrances, and of course today we're going to be talking about vanilla fragrances. So let's get started. So the first category are gourmand vanilla fragrances. Now I know some people might think that if a fragrance is considered to be a vanilla fragrance, then it's a gourmand, but not necessarily. I think there are quite a few vanillas that we'll discuss in this video that are not actually given gourmand. They're not actually that sweet and edible. There's lots of different types of vanilla. It's a very versatile note. So the vanillas in this list are sweet and very edible, very gourmand kind of fragrances. And I'm going to start with Kayali Vanilla 28. So I have a tiny little bottle of this one. And this is a really sweet, boozy, brown sugar kind of vanilla. It doesn't have any boozy notes, but I think the brown sugar in here gives it, I don't know why it gives it that vibe, but it's definitely the brown sugar that gives it a boozy vibe. It gives a boozy vibe to the fragrance. I find this really, really nice. I honestly think as long as you like sweet fragrances, you'd love this. So as for the notes, it starts off with vanilla, orchid and jasmine at the top. Then in the middle, you've got brown sugar and tonka bean. And then in the base, amber, amberwood, musk and patchouli. And really, you get a lot of vanilla. It's got a bit of softness and prettiness from, I guess, the vanilla orchid and the jasmine. Those little floral touches, they're very subtle, but I think they are present, giving it a nice feminine touch. Not that this is a super feminine fragrance, but it definitely does lean a little bit feminine. Then that brown sugar is really potent, tonka bean. And the base notes are just, I find them to be quite subtle. I'm not really smelling any patchouli in this. I don't find this musky. It's very, very vanilla and brown sugar heavy to me, and in a boozy way. And I really, really like this fragrance. And I think this is a really safe vanilla for most people. As long as you like, you know, something sweet, something gourmand, this is a really, really good option. And wow, I keep sniffing it because I'm just like, wow, I haven't worn this in a really, really long time. Yeah, wow, really good fragrance. And I remember this being very long lasting. I used to wear it a lot and it would last for me all day, like all day. I'd wear it to work and I'll still smell it at the end of the day, you know, that sort of 8 hours, 9 hours. That's what I get from this. So yeah, Vanilla 28, a really fantastic option from the house of Kayali. The second fragrance that is a gourmand is one that went quite viral a couple of years ago, and for very, very good reason, and that is Bianco Latte. This fragrance is, the word that I use to describe it is just yummy. I just think it is the yummiest fragrance ever. Oh my goodness. Wow, it's so sweet. It's so comforting. It's cozy. It's just an absolute work of art. Let's go through the notes and then we'll talk about it. So at the top, you've got caramel. In the middle, you've got coumarin and honey. And then in the base, you've got vanilla and white musk. Now, I'm pretty sure that coumarin is quite similar to tonka bean. But like all the notes in here, except for the white musk, are sweet notes. It's a very sweet, very, very sweet fragrance, but it's really cozy. Something about it has a fluffiness of like a, I don't know, like a fluffy, soft jumper, something like that. Yeah, it's got a beautiful, beautiful, fluffy texture. So all the notes in this fragrance are really sweet, except for the white musk. You've got honey, you've got vanilla, you've got coumarin, you've got caramel. They're all very, very sweet notes. So it is a sweet fragrance. You have to be into gourmands to love this one. But if you are, this is a really, I would say, a really high quality gourmand. I think this is an incredible fragrance, incredibly made, very long lasting, very potent, leaves a wonderful scent trail. This is a fragrance that's going to get you compliments. Like, it's going to get a lot of compliments, this one. People really like to smell this on other people. They like to smell it in the air. It's one of those fragrances that everyone's like, oh my gosh, like you smell really good, you smell really sweet. So yeah, this is a huge compliment getter. Fantastic fragrance, lasts really long, exactly what you want out of a gourmand fragrance. So yeah, that is Bianco Latte. So the next fragrance that is a gourmand fragrance, it's a niche fragrance that I tried for the first time when I visited Jovoy in Soho or Mayfair, central London, and this is Vanilla Haze by Fugazi. Now this is a very close fragrance to Bianco Latte. It's just a bit nuttier and I think slightly less sweet, but the opening is very caramel heavy to me. The opening is very sweet, caramel-like, but then after it dries down, a lot more similar to Bianco Latte, but a little bit less sweet and more nutty. But I think it's a good option. I got this bottle for £80 from, I think it was Harvey Nichols. £80 for this bottle. This is definitely a good option for someone that wants that cozy gourmand fragrance. It's not too expensive and it opens really, really nice. I love the opening. The opening is what caught me. I was in Jovoy and I was like, oh my gosh. I think it was the lady in the store actually. She showed it to me or sprayed it for me and I was like, wow, that opening. Very, very, very nice. So let's get into the notes. So at the top, you've got almond, hazelnut, coconut milk, mandarin. In the middle, there's vanilla pod, tonka bean, and jasmine. And then in the base, there's caramel, cashmere wood, amber, and musk. So like I said, it's really, really similar to Bianco Latte. Even the lady in the shop, she said to me, like, after the opening, it's literally just Bianco Latte. And I agree with that for the most part. It's not the same. It's not the same, but I definitely think it's similar enough to say you could consider this a dupe. Definitely. Like it is very, very, very similar to my nose. When I'm smelling it off the cap like this though, the cap from the bottle, something about this reminds me of Zara Red Temptation. I don't know what that is, but I don't think I get that when I spray it. But definitely giving Red Temptation. If you guys remember Red Temptation, Zara's dupe for Baccarat Rouge, that was just huge once upon a time. But yeah, no, definitely doesn't smell like that when you spray it. It's really, really yummy. Oh, it's so yummy. Caramel, sweetness, a little bit nutty. Yeah, gorgeous, gorgeous gourmand fragrance for sure. One that's not going to break the bank. And I find it really clings to my clothes. I smell it on myself all day. And yeah, really fantastic option. So that is Vanilla Haze by Fugazi. The next gourmand fragrance is also quite popular. Not as popular as Bianco Latte, but people are really loving this fragrance. And that is Blanche Bête. I know that I said that in the most London way possible, but that's all I got. So I picked up a sample from Les Sentiers in Victoria, London, Victoria, when I went. And yeah, I haven't used much of this one. This is a very lactonic coconut kind of fragrance. So if you're into coconut in your fragrances and you like something milky, lactonic, this would be a really good one. I find it smells a little bit on the classy side. It does smell a bit elegant, but it is very, very gourmand. So as for the notes, we've got milk, ambre, and mystical in the top notes. Mystical is synthetic note. I don't even know if I'm saying it correctly. In the middle, we've got tuberose, jasmine, incense, and mahonial. And mahonial is also a synthetic note, but it gives off the scent of flowers. And then in the base, you've got vanilla, musk, tonka bean, and cacao. So very, very much a gourmand fragrance, lactonic, a little bit of depth in there, tiny bit smoky in the background, and it smells a little bit spicy as well. It reminds me a bit of nutmeg, to be honest. It smells like milky nutmeg, you know, that kind of concoction. Very much a gourmand, it leans feminine to me. It leans feminine. It smells a little bit elegant for a gourmand as well. Definitely a great one to get your nose on. That is Blanche Bête by Liquid Imaginaires. I think this would be a good option as long as you like lactonic notes, because some people, they find milky lactonic fragrances to be a bit much for the stomach, like kind of makes them a bit sick. I am almost one of those people, but I can appreciate lactonic in small doses. I would say this is not lactonic in small doses. This is very lactonic to me. So the next vanilla fragrance in my gourmand list literally has gourmand in the name, and of course there's Escapade gourmand. So I got myself a small sample of this, and I really like it. It reminds me a lot of Bianco Latte, but a little bit less fluffy, and it smells a little bit more like vanilla extract. So as for the notes, we've got sugarcane at the top, vanilla in the middle with tonka bean, and then benzoin and musk in the base. So quite simple, not an awful lot of notes in here. Very, very gourmand, very sweet, a bit lighter than Bianco Latte. Yeah, I like it though. Very, very nice. I think if you like sweet and gourmand fragrances, you absolutely could not go wrong with Escapade Gourmand. I think it's a very, very safe vanilla fragrance, kind of like Vanilla 28. I think it's quite safe. It's not as boozy as Vanilla 28, but I think it's got a lightness that Vanilla 28 has as well. It's not heavy, dense, or fluffy. I think Bianco Latte is more dense and fluffy. This is lighter, more vanilla extracts. Very, very, very nice. Subtle musk in the background. I like it. And I think as long as you like something sweet, you'll like this one. So that is Escapade Gourmand. So the next vanilla fragrance on my gourmand list is a citrus vanilla fragrance that is well loved by many, many people, and that is Lira. This is a beautiful fragrance. I really appreciate how light and airy this fragrance is. Yes, it does smell like a vanilla dessert, a vanilla citrus dessert, but it's light. It's not dense, it's not heavy, it's light and airy. It feels like a very sophisticated gourmand. I really like it. It's very, very sweet though. But of course, we're in the list of gourmand fragrances. Of course, they're going to be sweet. But I find it really gorgeous. So as for the notes, at the top, we've got blood orange, bergamot, and lavender. In the middle, there's cinnamon, licorice, and jasmine. And then in the base, vanilla, caramel, and musk. It was definitely more than just a simple citrus vanilla. The lavender in there is present. You can smell it, but it's not overpowering. It just gives it a slightly aromatic touch. I'm not a big fan of lavender, but I think it's done really nicely in here. It's quite subtle. And then also you've got the cinnamon, which I think, I don't necessarily smell cinnamon, but I think it just has a bit of a spice to it. It's not just sweet and citrus. It definitely has some spices in there, that aromatic touch. Like it's not a simple fragrance. I think there's quite a lot of different accords going on, but it blends together really beautifully, and it does make a lovely sweet, vanilla, airy kind of fragrance. Yeah, I would highly recommend this one. I've been craving it a little bit more recently than I used to. I don't really know why that's happening. I think I'm just having a huge craving for very sweet fragrances. So this is sweet. If you don't like anything that's super, super sweet, I'm not sure if this will be the one for you, but definitely one to get your nose on. I think it's an absolutely classic gourmand. It's one that is very, very well respected and has been for years. And I think for good reason. It's a really good gourmand fragrance, quite realistic in how it smells like a, citrus dessert, and very, very well done from Xerjoff Casamorati. So yeah, that is Lira. Before I get into the second category, if you've been enjoying this video so far, you've been enjoying these recommendations, then please leave a thumbs up and let me know in the comments which of these have you liked so far. Let me know. I'd love to chat with you guys, and also consider subscribing. And let's get into category number 2. So the second category of vanilla fragrances are the elegant fragrances. So these are a little bit more sophisticated. They are not as in your face gourmand and sweet. They're a bit more subtle, they're a bit more refined. They'd be more appropriate for you know, professional setting as well. If you're looking for a feminine but classy, put together kind of fragrance, but you still love the note of vanilla, then these would be really good fragrances to get your nose on. The first fragrance in my elegant vanilla category is Angelique Noire by Guerlain. This fragrance is just beautiful. I'm sure many of you have heard me talk about this a lot. So I'm just going to be quite brief with this one. So as for the notes, at the top we've got Angelica, which is a lovely green plant that smells amazing in this fragrance. Angelica, pear and pink pepper. Then in the middle you've got jasmine and caraway, and in the base you've got vanilla, Angelica again, and cedar. The Angelica in this fragrance is quite potent. You've got it in the top notes and you've got it in the base notes as well. So it's very, very green, fresh, airy, which I find gorgeous. And then the vanilla in this is so high quality. I love the way that Guerlain do their vanillas. It's just luxe. It just gives me luxury. I love it. Absolutely beautiful vanilla in here. Nothing too dense or heavy or too sweet either. I just think it's a very balanced, very refined vanilla fragrance. The pear makes this fragrance a little bit juicy. And then you've got the clean jasmine in the back, very clean, very subtle. And I just find this fragrance so elegant, so lovely, really nice for springtime as well. And yeah, absolutely adore this fragrance, Angelique Noire by Guerlain. So the next vanilla fragrance that is in my elegant category is Dior Addict. Now my bottle of this is absolutely butchered. I've had this for years, and this is a white floral vanilla fragrance. The vanilla in this fragrance is quite dense and dark, but then the white florals just make it smell quite regal, elegant. It's a very beautiful, womanly fragrance. This is not the kind of vanilla fragrance that would interest, you know, a teenager. This is very womanly. It smells very grown. There are a lot of notes in this fragrance, so let's go through them. So at the top, we've got blackberry, mandarin leaf, silk tree blossom. In the middle, we've got jasmine, orange blossom, night blooming cereus, and rose. And then in the base, we've got vanilla, tonka bean, and Mysore sandalwood. I don't know, a certain type of sandalwood. So when you smell this, it's very, very dense, thick vanilla, but it's not sweet. It has a little bit of sweetness, but it's not a sweet kind of vanilla fragrance at all. Very white floral, very pretty, but yeah, not pretty in the juvenile girly way. This is like a grown woman, very much a grown woman, elegant woman. This would be really nice for evening wear if you're, you know, wearing maybe not a gown, but just a nice sophisticated midi dress. You've got a pair of heels on, you're going somewhere nice in the evening. I think this would be really appropriate for that. Very, very elegant, classy, put together kind of fragrance. Definitely not something that's super sweet on Gourmand or anything like that. It's white floral heavy. It's very much a classic fragrance that has been loved for many, many decades. And to be honest, I think I'm gonna get myself another bottle because I've just been in the mood for very feminine, very womanly fragrances. And this is definitely that. So Dior Addict, if you want something womanly, you want to smell sophisticated, put together, elegant, this is a vanilla for you, Dior Addict. So the next vanilla fragrance that is elegant and sophisticated is one from the house of Kurkdjian. And I think this isn't spoken about very much. I almost put this in the unique category because it is a vanilla fragrance. It does have some citrus, but I don't find that this smells like anything else. It is quite unique, but it's very ladylike, very classy and elegant. And that is Woman in Gold by Kurkdjian. So this fragrance opens with a heavy dose of aldehydes. And I know that might throw off a lot of people, but I think that sort of opening, the aldehydes and citrus and some other notes, which we'll go through in a moment, definitely give this that elegant and classy touch, because when it develops it becomes very vanilla heavy, and the citrus and the aldehydes, they take a back seat and the vanilla just shines. Like the vanilla is the main star of the show, but when you first spray it, you wouldn't think so. You wouldn't think that this is a super vanilla kind of fragrance, but I do find it very elegant, very feminine, and quite unique as well. I think the aldehydes remind me of Chanel fragrances, but then when it develops at the middle and the base, it doesn't smell anything like Chanel fragrances, but the opening, definitely. So in the top notes, we've got bergamot, aldehydes, mandarin orange. In the middle, we've got vanilla, absolute, rose, geranium, freesia, and marshmallow. And then in the base, we've got vanilla, akigala wood, tonka, patchouli, and musk. So there's vanilla in the middle and in the base notes, and you definitely get that. Once the aldehydes have disappeared, you just get lots and lots of vanilla, and it's a very lovely, sweet, soft vanilla. A very citrusy fragrance though. I really like this fragrance. I really do like it. I think this is not a good fragrance to blind buy. I think you definitely need to get your nose on it, experience the opening, see how you feel about it. I think most people would love the dry down because it is just a nice, soft, sweet, slightly floral fragrance. But the opening is where you might be a bit like, not too sure. But you might also really like it. So definitely want to try before you buy, for sure. But one thing I will say about Woman in Gold is that it lasts. This fragrance doesn't go anywhere. This will last you all day. You might even have to wash this one off. I don't know why. And like I said, not a lot of people talk about Woman in Gold, but I'm telling you, for me, this lasts and lasts and lasts and lasts. I smell it on myself all day, like 10 hours. It's not the kind of fragrance you would expect to be so long lasting. It's very potent. Very, very potent, this fragrance. So definitely a fragrance that I recommend for like a signature scent. Very classy, very elegant, and very inoffensive. Appropriate for every day, and it lasts all day. So I think it'd be perfect signature scent for a woman. It smells very, very feminine, elegant, sophisticated, all of that stuff. So yeah, Woman in Gold by Kurkdjian. So the next category are fragrances that are a little bit more affordable. I don't want to say affordable because they're not like £20 or £30, but they're definitely not as expensive as most of the fragrances on this list. So let's start off with Burberry Goddess. So this is a very well-loved fragrance that really took me by surprise actually. When I smelled this, I was like, oh wow, this is a very, very vanilla forward fragrance. And it just kind of reminded me of niche fragrances, and I didn't really expect this to be like a mainstream designer fragrance. It's not just a straight up vanilla, there's some lavender in here, and I think the lavender in here is quite potent, but definitely vanilla forward. I think there's different types of vanilla in here as well, and it's, yeah, very well loved. To me, the lavender is very potent. Some other people don't find that it's as lavender heavy as I do, but definitely want to get your nose on it if you're not too sure about that lavender like myself. But if you do like lavender in your fragrances and you love very strong vanilla, then this would be a good option. There's another fragrance that is a mainstream designer fragrance, YSL Libre, which was very popular. I mean, probably still is very popular, but a few years ago. Libre Intense, I used to absolutely love, but that is also a very lavender heavy vanilla fragrance. This doesn't remind me of Libre Intense at all. So if you think that it's gonna be like Libre, you're not really fond of Libre, like, no. This is a lot more vanilla heavy than Libre. Libre is more floral, white floral. This is like vanilla, a vanilla bomb. So as for the notes, we've got, in the top, we've got vanilla, lavender, cacao, and ginger. In the middle, you've got vanilla, caviar. And then in the base, you've got vanilla absolute. So, like, it's a vanilla fragrance through and through and through. It's just vanilla heavy. And like I said, I get a lot of that lavender. Not so much ginger. Cacao, yes, it does have a little bit of a chocolatey nuance in there. I think if this had no lavender, I'd really, really, really like it. But too much lavender for me. But definitely a vanilla bomb, and one that people love. Definitely long-lasting, potent fragrance. A very good designer option. And it's not going to absolutely break the bank. So yeah, that is Burberry Goddess. So the next vanilla fragrance that is slightly more affordable is Devotion by Dolce & Gabbana. So this is a citrus vanilla fragrance, very sweet, very dense. This, people like to say that this is a bit like Lira by Xerjoff. Not so much to me. I find Lira to be a bit more lemony, and this is very dense, thick, heavy. Lira is light and airy, but this is very, very sweet. So at the top, you've got candied lemon. In the middle, you've got panna cotta, orange blossom and rum. And then in the base, you've got vanilla. I don't really get rum from this. It's definitely not boozy. Isn't it funny that there are fragrances that don't have boozy notes that smell boozy, like Vanilla 28? This doesn't smell like rum to me. No, I don't think so. But definitely a very, very sweet, thick vanilla fragrance. And a lot of people love this one as well. Citrus vanilla is a kind of scent profile that is it's a nice combination, citrus and vanilla. It works really well. I think the citrus kind of calms down the vanilla and the sweetness, and it's a nice, makes a nice balanced overall scent. So yeah, this would be a really good choice if you just want something really sweet. I definitely think this could have been in the first category of gourmands, because it's very much a gourmand fragrance. It's very, very sweet. And yeah, definitely want to get your nose on if you are looking for your next vanilla fragrance. You like a bit of citrus, you like a bit of gourmand, you want it to be really sweet and heavy. Definitely try Devotion by Dolce & Gabbana. So I'm about to get into the next fragrance category, but before I do, drop a comment and let me know if you've seen any of your favorites so far. And don't forget, at the end, I'm going to give you my top 3. So the next category are fragrances that are, of course, vanilla fragrances, but they are quite unique and edgy. So either they kind of smell like nothing else, or they just got a bit of, quite a bit of personality that makes them a bit different to the other types of vanilla fragrances. So the first fragrance in this list is Mirabelle, I don't know how to say it, from the house of, I would have said Vicanto, but I've definitely heard that apparently it's Quinta Canto. I don't know how to say it, but Mirabelle. I'm having a tough time, guys, but it's a good thing I can put it on the screen. So this fragrance is very unique. It's a very interesting gourmand fragrance. The opening is very strange. Some people love the opening, and some people are not too fond of the opening. So this is definitely one to get your nose on, probably not a safe blind buy. So let's go through the notes. At the top, you've got vanilla, malt, and opoponax. In the middle, you've got milk, rum, agathosma, lavender, bourbon geranium, and rose. Then in the base, you've got vanilla absolute, tonka bean, cloves, patchouli, and white musk. So this opens very, very strange, I must say. It's strange. You might love it, but it doesn't start off how it develops. So it's very malt-like and just very strange, almost a little bit medicinal, a little bit cold, like minty cold, medicinal. Kind of smells like in the opening, it kind of smells like a dentist, if that makes any sense. Yeah, it kind of reminds me of a dentist. It's weird. It's definitely weird, peculiar, bizarre. But the way that this fragrance develops, I've never experienced a fragrance that changes so much from the beginning to the dry down. Like, it's so dramatic. It develops honestly into the most cozy, sweet, lactonic, gourmand vanilla. And you just would never have guessed it from the way that it starts. So I really do feel like you guys need to get your nose on this one, because the way it dries down is gorgeous. And I really, really enjoy that part of the fragrance. The beginning, I don't know about that. But if you do get your nose on it, guys, let me know in the comments if you actually like it or you're not a fan of the opening. The opening is, yeah, it's very polarizing for sure. but the way it develops, wow, it develops into such a lovely, like, wintry gourmand, cozy and sweet and milky, and it's really nice after that very strange opening. So definitely one to get your nose on, especially if you're, if you're someone that's really into fragrances and you just want to smell something different, something you've never smelled before. There's loads of vanillas in the market, but you want something that has a bit more personality. Definitely try this one and let me know what you think. So the next vanilla fragrance that I think is quite edgy and unique is Poets of Berlin from Wilhelm Parfumerie. I hope I said that correctly, but I've got myself a decant of this fragrance, and this fragrance has grown on me. It's very unique. It's a vanilla fragrance, but it smells like it's got a greenness that kind of reminds me of like the stem of a plant, and also kind of reminds me of bananas that are like green, like not ripe. That's kind of what this gives me. It definitely has a more of a summer vibe to vanilla. It's definitely not a vanilla that I could see myself wearing in the winter. But yeah, very unique. I've not smelled anything like this before. It's a little bit creamy as well. It's not that sweet. Definitely not, yeah, it's not a sweet vanilla fragrance at all. But yeah, very interesting. And it's grown on me a lot. So let's go through the notes. So at the top, you've got blueberry and lemon. In the middle, you've got bamboo and orris. And then in the base, vanilla, sandalwood and vetiver. So not a lot of notes there, but it's definitely green. Like a green vanilla that, yeah, definitely has a slight like fruity vibe, but not like a ripe fruit at all. It's got a green freshness to it. Very interesting. Another one that, if you're really into fragrances and, you want to kind of expand your vanilla collection, I think this would be a really good one to try, a really good one to get your nose on. And yeah, it's definitely grown on me. I definitely would like to start wearing this when the weather gets a bit warmer. It is getting a bit warmer in London, which is great. I definitely want to try this as it gets a little bit warmer, because I think it suits that sort of weather. That's what it smells like to me anyway. So yeah, I don't know how safe of a blind buy this would be. So yeah, definitely try and get your nose on this in the store, or get yourself a decant, a sample, and try it. Yeah, Poets of Berlin. The next vanilla fragrance that is unique and edgy is a really well-loved fragrance. People speak about this one a lot, not so much recently, but it definitely has gotten a lot of love in the past, and that is Annie by Nishane. And this is an incredible vanilla fragrance. Green, spicy vanilla. That's what I get from this fragrance. The vanilla is so, I don't even know what the word is. Like it's dense, but not too dense. It's very, I feel like I'm being absorbed by the vanilla when I smell this. It's intense, but in the most beautiful way possible. So at the top, you've got ginger, bergamot, pink pepper, and green notes. In the middle, we've got cardamom, blackcurrant, and Turkish rose. And then in the base, vanilla, benzoin, sandalwood, cedar, patchouli, ambergris, and musk. So there's quite a lot of notes in here. I definitely don't pick up any rose, but it's spicy, full of spices. So the way that Angelique Noire is a green vanilla, but it's not super spicy. There's some pink pepper in that one, but it's not a spicy fragrance. It's more fresh green vanilla. This is green vanilla, but not fresh. This is spicy. Lots and lots of spices in here. Really, really beautiful vanilla fragrance. Yeah. The ginger in here is quite prominent in the opening, but it's beautiful. It's perfect. It's so well balanced, this fragrance. The wonderful vanilla that's not too sweet, but very powerful. And then with all the spices and the green, it's a really well balanced fragrance. And yeah, fantastic. This one lasts really long as well. I definitely get a strong 8 hours of this one. Strong 8 hours. I don't find it to be a heavy projector or yeah, people are not going to smell you from 2 miles away, but I definitely think it leaves a lovely sillage. Like if you spray it in the room, or if you walk into the room, I think the room will definitely have a bit of that lovely spicy vanilla left behind. Yeah, gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous fragrance by Nishane. That's Annie. So the next vanilla fragrance is very edgy. May not be so unique, because I think there are quite a few fragrances that people find to be quite similar to this, or quite a few fragrances that remind people of this one, but definitely edgy, and that is Babycat by YSL. So I have been umming and ahhing about Babycat. I've got myself a little sample, and I'm just like, I'm torn. It's a vanilla fragrance, but for me, it's very leather heavy. I know it says suede in the notes, but I think it's quite leathery. It's quite potent in this fragrance, and I think for me, it overpowers the vanilla, and I don't get an awful lot of vanilla, or maybe not as much vanilla as I would like. But if you would like a vanilla fragrance that is quite leather forward and spicy, then definitely give this one a try. A lot of people love this fragrance and consider it like an absolute masterpiece, which I get. When I smelled it, I was very, very impressed. I said, okay, wow, like it's very spicy, but very leathery, and then there's some vanilla. And I don't know, I think maybe I was just expecting more vanilla from this fragrance, but I definitely do think it is very well crafted. So let's get into the notes. So at the top, we've got black pepper, pink pepper, and elemi, which is like a balsam, a resin. Then in the middle, you've got olibanum and saffron. And then in the base, you've got bourbon vanilla, suede, and cedar. And this is, yeah, it's a very unisex fragrance. I think, honestly, perfectly in the middle, this one. I'm just going to spray it. Spicy, really leathery. And the vanilla to me is in the background. I don't find it like very vanilla forward. So it's definitely an edgy vanilla fragrance. Very, very suede heavy. Spicy, but more suede for me. Yeah, lots and lots of pepper, black pepper, pink pepper. You definitely smell those a lot. And then lots of leather with a bit of vanilla. That's what I get. I feel like the vanilla's in the background with this fragrance. So definitely want to get your nose on if leather appeals to you. If you like that mixture of leather with vanilla, then definitely try out Babycat. It's one that I think I'll end up getting eventually. It's just probably not a priority for me right now. And maybe I'd like to layer it to just add a little bit of sweetness. I don't find this sweet. Like, it's not sweet. Tiny bit of sweetness, like 2 out of 10. Not sweet. And I like a bit of sweetness. I like a bit more sweetness than this one has to offer. So yeah. I know people say this reminds them of Rosendo No. 5. And it used to remind me of Rosendo Matteo No. 5. But I think they're very, very different fragrances. Like Rosendo No. 5 is more rubbery. It's a lot sweeter, ambery, floral, sensual kind of fragrance. And this one is like not sweet, and it's not rubbery like Rosendo Matteo. This has lots of leather. Matteo does not. Like I find them very, very different. I just think maybe on first spray, it's like, oh, they smell kind of similar, but no. Like they go in completely different directions. Another one that's compared to Babycat is Eau de Audacity by Penhaligon's, which I have a sample of somewhere, and I definitely think very similar, but I don't know that fragrance as much. I haven't really thought about it much since I got a sample. So yeah, definitely a leather forward vanilla fragrance if that's your cup of tea. So yeah, Babycat by YSL. So the next vanilla fragrance that I find quite unique is Vanilla Powder by Matière Première. Now this is a fragrance that I'm telling you, when I first sprayed it in the shop, I was like, no, I don't like this. But I find it so intriguing. Even though I didn't like it, there was something about it that kept me sniffing. I was very intrigued by it. It was like addictive, even though I didn't like it at the time. But now I love this fragrance. So I did get myself a sample because I said, you know what? I'm so intrigued by that. I need more time with it. So I got a sample and I was like, interesting. It's growing on me. I'm intrigued. And then it just kept on growing on me and I said, you know what? I need it. And I'm so happy that I got this bottle. I've been wearing this a lot recently. Like I've been wearing it consecutive days. Sometimes layered, sometimes not. But yeah, this is, I think, quite a unique vanilla. I haven't really smelled anything like this before. So it's not very sweet. It's a little bit dry. It's coconutty, a little bit lactonic, and quite potent. Very interesting fragrance and powdery. Yeah, very interesting fragrance. Like I said, it's that kind of vanilla that's not sweet. It's like a dry, pure, almost like pure vanilla before they add anything to it. And then it's got coconut powder listed in the top notes, and you definitely get that powdery coconut vibe. And there is a bit of sweetness in the fragrance, but I feel like it's a coconut sweetness rather than a vanilla sweetness. So at the top, you've got coconut powder and heliotrope. In the middle, you've got Madagascar vanilla. Then in the base, you've got vanilla absolute, white musk, Palo Santo, lactones, and coconut. So it definitely has a sort of coconutty vibe, which I think makes it smell a little bit feminine and a little bit spring summer. It is a heavy, I say heavy, that makes it sound really negative, but like it's a potent vanilla fragrance. But I think the coconut definitely makes it like a bit more pretty and a bit more spring summer. And it's a little bit lactonic. You know, it's powdery, really powdery. I really like this one. It's a peculiar scent, I think. I don't know if everyone would find it peculiar, but to me, I was like, what is this? Now I'm like, I love it. I absolutely love it. But yeah, definitely an interesting fragrance. So yeah, try and get your nose on this one if maybe you're a bit tired of like super sweet vanillas and you've got loads of those and you want to try something different. So I definitely think it's unique, and I wouldn't say it's super crowd pleasing, but a lot of people do love it. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if I would say it's blind buy safe, but definitely try and get a sample, get your nose on this one. Very long lasting and potent fragrance. I know people say this is very beast mode. I haven't had that experience. It hasn't been super beast mode to me. I don't know, I feel like my skin just absorbs a lot of fragrances. Like, not all of them that are supposed to be like beast mode, but some of them, people be saying they're beast mode and I'm like my skin has eaten this. So I don't know, but it definitely is long lasting, especially on the cloves. I haven't had this in my collection for long, but I'm absolutely loving it. I've been wearing it non-stop, and yeah, that is Vanilla Powder by Matière Première. So the next couple of fragrances are vanilla fragrances that I find to be quite pretty, and there are two in this list. The first one is Vanille de Tahiti by Paris Monte Carlo. So this is a fragrance that features Tahitian vanilla, and this is a vanilla that has more of a light and floral touch rather than, you know, like thick Bourbon vanilla or Madagascar vanilla. Like it's a different kind of vibe, and it's also been mixed in with some yellow florals, and I find it to be, it's very sweet but also feminine and soft. And I say feminine quite lightly because I definitely think a guy could wear this and a guy could pull this off quite nicely, but it's definitely a pretty soft, cozy, sweet, floral vanilla fragrance. So the notes are, at the top we've got champaca and ylang ylang, yellow flowers. In the base we've got, in the middle we've got vanilla, and then in the base sandalwood, amber and musk. So it's definitely very sweet, this one. And it does have a little bit of like the smell of piss, kind of. But it's only in the opening, and I don't know, maybe you won't get that when you smell this, but it does kind of have that. It's a bit like, oh, but you might not smell it, you might be okay, and it is only in the opening. Afterwards, it just develops into a very nice, sweet, soft, a very soft vanilla fragrance. Yeah, really nice and sweet, floral. It's got a little bit of like a tropical vibe, almost like a tropical vanilla. And that pissy smell is, it's not potent, it's not like, I think the softness of the florals and the vanilla in this fragrance make it smell really pretty to me, and that's why I put it in this category. I think this is a nice option, but I must say I really do want to get my nose on the extra version, because people have been saying that it really is like the bee's knees, and I want to know. So yeah, I have this one, but I do want to try and get myself the extra version and see. Apparently it's like nicer than this one, and yeah, try and get your nose on this one. It's definitely sweet, pretty floral vanilla, that I think maybe a lot of you guys would like this one. So yeah, Vanilla Tahiti. So the next vanilla fragrance that I find to be quite pretty is by the house of MFK, and that is Gentle Fluidity Gold. This was my first niche fragrance that I ever bought, and you know, it's nearly finished, and honestly I just had such a good experience with this fragrance. I think it's a lovely, pretty springtime powdery musky vanilla, and yeah, I think it's absolutely gorgeous. It definitely leans very, very feminine, this one, and yeah, I think it's pretty safe. I find this to be really sweet. I know not everyone finds this super sweet, but for me it's very, very sweet. So the notes are, at the top you've got juniper berries and nutmeg, in the middle you've got coriander, then in the base you've got vanilla, musk, amberwood and caramel. So I think for me it's that caramel, the caramel with the vanilla. I find it very sweet, but it's less in your face and it's more sophisticated, a little bit feminine, soft, and yeah, really, really good option for anyone that likes a feminine leaning vanilla fragrance. So yeah, that is Gentle Fluidity Gold by MFK. But there's one fragrance that I've put in the miscellaneous category because I didn't really find it to fit with gourmand or pretty or unique or edgy or affordable. So it's in the miscellaneous category, and that is Silky Woods by Goldfoot & Banks. So I think Silky Woods is an interesting one because the name suggests that it's a really woody fragrance, which it is, and there's quite a few different notes in here that are quite, there's a lot of strong notes in here, but then the fragrance altogether is quite light. It's not light and airy, but it's not a dense fragrance like you would think from the notes, and I'll read the notes in a moment, but I think Silky Woods is definitely silky, and a little bit soft, and I think it's quite sweet as well. And yeah, I think a lot of people would enjoy this fragrance. It would be kind of nice for, I don't know if I'd say every day, but casual wear in the autumn. I think that's what it gives me. Casual wear, autumn time, definitely winter as well, but I think it might be a bit cloying when it gets quite warm. So as for the notes, we've got saffron in the top with Ceylon cinnamon, and then in the middle you've got suede, oud, ylang ylang, jasmine. Then in the base you've got Tahitian vanilla, Australian sandalwood, tobacco leaf, musk and olibanum. So there's some heavy notes in here. We've got oud in here, there's saffron in here, there's suede in here, there's jasmine, ylang ylang. Those can be strong sometimes. Obviously we've got vanilla, there's tobacco, like there's a lot going on in here, but I honestly feel like they put all of those in very small doses. The vanilla in a bigger dose because I think it's quite a vanillic fragrance. It's quite sweet, but I think the rest of them are very I think they did them in very small doses. The oud, the suede, the tobacco, I think those are quite dialed down in this fragrance. So I definitely think Silky Woods is a good option. Something to get your nose on, something to try from the house of Goldfield and Banks. So guys, if you're still with me, it's time for top 3. Out of all of these 20 fragrances, there are 3 of them that I just think are insane. Like absolutely insane, absolutely incredible, that I highly, highly, highly recommend. Okay, so the first of those, I think would be no surprise, Angelique Noire by the house of Guerlain. This is one of my favorite fragrances ever. I just think it's such a beautiful mix of green and vanilla, and I just find it to be absolutely perfect. It's just so lovely, fresh, like tiny bit sweet, and perfect for springtime. It makes me feel really elegant and sophisticated, and I just love it. So I definitely think Angelique Noire is one that most people would love. I think the only reason why someone might not like it is if they don't like green notes. And the way they did the green in this, I think even if you don't like green, you like this one. So yeah, Angelique Noire, incredible fragrance, definitely top 3 from this list. This top 3 is also not in any particular order, okay? So the second fragrance is Bianco Latte. I just think Bianco Latte is just so yummy. I just find it perfect. It's the perfect gourmand. I wouldn't change anything about that fragrance. Bianco Latte is so long lasting, it's so potent, it smells so good. It's such a mass appealing, crowd pleasing fragrance. Everyone around you is gonna smell it and they're gonna like it. And then while you wear it, you're gonna feel like so cozy and lovely. So I definitely think Bianco Latte, incredible. It's cozy enough like to wear to bed. I like to wear this when I'm like almost in bed and maybe I'm having a cup of tea and I'm just chilling before I want to go off to bed later. Like it's that cozy, but it's also sweet and lovely. It's also one that I like to wear with Gris Charnel. I really like that layering combination. And yeah, Bianco Latte, incredible fragrance, went viral for very good reason. So another fragrance in my top 3 is Annie by Nishane. I just think this is a masterpiece vanilla fragrance. It's just incredible, so well balanced. The vanilla is so beautiful. I honestly feel like, as for the vanilla note itself, it's probably the best or my favorite vanilla note that I've ever smelled. I love it. I think I'm not always in the mood for the spices. I'm not always in the mood for it, but when I spray it and it's just on my skin, I'm just like, wow, what a fragrance. You know, when you spray something, you're just like, wow, how did they make this? It's just incredible. Annie is just a masterpiece to me. So let me know in the comments, what are your top 3 vanilla fragrances? Have you seen any fragrances in this list that you want to try, that you already have and you absolutely love? Let me know your favorites. Drop me a comment, leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and also subscribe to the channel. And also, it's still springtime. So if you're interested in finding out what are the best spring fragrances to wear, then please check out this video here, and I'll see you guys in my next video.